What's going on, everybody? Shonen Express here, delivering to you my review of One Piece Chapter 950, The Dreams of the Strong. The first thing I want to talk about in this chapter is Eustace Kid. Oh my word, was it awesome to see him. I think I've said before that Kid is my favorite supernova so far, so I loved seeing him get to have a little more of a role in this chapter. We open up with him and he puts together his arm again. It's awesome how that was all put together with his devil fruit the whole time. I kind of figured that, and a lot of people kind of figured that, but it was cool to see him put it together again just from the parts in the jail that he could magnetize to himself. So that was really cool. But then it was also really cool to hear his decision. Luffy asks him if he wants to go with him to take Kaido out, and Kid says, absolutely not. No way. I'm going to go get my crew back. I was very interested in this. We haven't really got a whole lot of Kid's decision-making or his intelligence so far in the series. We haven't got a whole lot from Kid at all. I mean, Savity Archipelago was the last time we saw him. And we got to see him fight a little bit, but really we don't have a whole lot of his personality. We know he's cruel, but and we thought impulsive based on what we had seen, but we didn't really know. This is a very interesting thing. It seemed like Kid was super impulsive before this chapter. Stuff like taking on the Big Mom pirates, taking on Kaido himself. Very impulsive things, and things that he suffered for in both cases. So I thought he was impulsive and kind of like a Luffy level of intelligence, maybe a little more than Luffy, but right around there. But it seems like he's not. From this chapter, I think Kid is a lot more intelligent than we give him credit for. He knows his priority is to get his crew back. I think that's really cool. It shows that while Kid might be cruel to others, he is not cruel to his crew. He cares a lot for his crew, as we see about what happened to Killer. And he's very mad at Kaido for that. He wants to get his crew back, and he's done with alliances. And the last alliance he was in betrayed him, so it makes total sense that he would stop wanting to be in an alliance with any other pirate crews. And of course he wants to get his crew back. They're his crew. So he's going to focus on himself. I think this will be really cool, and I definitely think the Kid is coming back, and that we are going to get the lineup of Kid, Luffy, and Law facing Kaido. I still think that's going to happen, and I think that's going to help Kid get over the alliance thing, because he's going to be part of that alliance, which we've already seen to be a good alliance between Luffy and Law. So I'm really excited to see that, but I was also super excited to see that Kid seems intelligent. He seems like he's making a plan to get his crew back. I really like that, and he's not just charging straight into Kaido. I thought that was awesome this chapter. A quick aside, I loved seeing Chopper again in this chapter. I love how Chopper's like yelling at Luffy for being dumb and getting affected by the virus. And he's saying, aren't they painful? Like, apologize. I think this shows a lot of development in Chopper's character. I think this severity and the seriousness that Chopper's taking this is really cool to see for his character to have grown from when we first met him, and he was more shy, more reserved than he is now, where he's just outright yelling at Luffy saying, how could you be such an idiot? So I thought it was cool to see him kind of freak out there and see him like working with the test tubes like super hard. I thought that was really interesting and really good to see about Chopper's character. Now, discussing the prisoners of Udon Prison that had just been freed. There's a couple things I want to discuss. First of all, I think it makes total sense that they would distrust Luffy just off the get-go. Yeah, Luffy did that really cool thing where he said, I'm going to take down Kaido and I'm going to bring you food. Sure, but the only pirates that these people know are the Beast Pirates, are Kaido's crew. So they only know pirates as an evil, domineering entity. And to be honest, I'm sure most pirate crews throughout the world are an evil, domineering entity. So that kind of makes sense. But Raizo, says, oh no, pirates are all different all throughout the world. They're not all like this. And, it's kind of like a good reminder that Wano is an insular country. It's not one that is out there and knows a lot about the world. That the only pirates they know are evil, so they naturally assume, well, if he says he's a pirate, we can't really trust him. I thought that was good. I also loved when Momonosuke comes out, and they all bow and say, they're like, we're so glad you're safe. This is really cool, and it ties back into the Japanese theme. It's awesome to see that all these men are still very loyal to Odin, and his son, in this case Momonosuke, the Kozuki clan in general. It's awesome to see how loyal they are, and that just his being there and being alive is enough for these men to say, now it's worth fighting in this battle. It's worth it now. Even if we can't trust the pirate, and I'm sure Momonosuke will explain that Luffy is a good pirate, that they were friends, that he helped them, all that stuff. And I'm sure that they will be willing to work with Luffy and willing to work with Law and the rest of the alliance there against Kaido. I'm sure that they will be willing to, but it was cool to see that they were apprehensive about that and very loyal to Momonosuke and willing to go where he wants. A next little aside is Kawamatsu going off. I'm very sad to see that. I really like Kawamatsu. I want to see more from Kawamatsu. I want to know more about him. But he says in this chapter that he's got to go off and he'll meet them at the final battle. I trust that he will meet them at the final battle. Maybe he'll bring back someone cool that I didn't know existed. Someone that can really help them. But I was sad to kind of see him leave the group. I wanted to see a lot more of Kawamatsu. I wanted to get to know him a lot more, but I'm sure we'll see him again in the final battle, so all's well. Another big part of this chapter that is worth discussing is the part where Shutenmaru shows Kinemon and Inuarashi the graves of the people who died 10 years ago because they went to Onigashima and fought Kaido. I think that was a powerful scene. It's powerful that they died, that they couldn't wait. That's fine. My biggest problem with this whole thing with Shutenmaru now is Shutenmaru, seems dumb now, to me. And, I mean, feel free to disagree with that. But I think that because, so they were trying to recruit Shutenmaru. They're like, hey, you gotta come. And he says, I believe in the past says, no, I don't want to get on. I don't want to do that. It's been 20 years. How can you expect us to just jump back on the bandwagon? And I got that. That makes sense. When he was going to show them the graves, I was like, this is a great moment to say, this is why we've lost too much. We don't want to lose anymore. And I was expecting someone to have to convince him to join. But no one did. He just remembers that these people died and shows them the graves and says, well, I guess I'm on board now that I've showed you the graves. It seems weird to put it there. And definitely, I'd say like too quick of a change of mind for Shutenmaru. I don't think he was fleshed out enough, because he just kind of goes from like, no, I won't join the alliance, to sure, I'll join, and no one said anything to him. He wasn't convinced. He didn't even have like a self-revelation about that. He was just like, we fight for Odin. I won't stand in the way of Odin's will. So I was a little disappointed in Shutenmaru. I was a little disappointed in that aspect of this chapter. So now we get to the part where we have to talk about Zorro. I think Zorro was a bigger part of this chapter this week than a lot of people probably think walking away from it. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Who knows? But he is with Hiyori, right? Yeah. Hiyori, and he cuts down this ninja, and that's really cool to see. It's cool to see him fight and stuff. But she's like, oh, I'm in your way. He's like, whatever. He is on a vendetta. He wants to cut Orochi down. He wants to beat Orochi and stop this government on a personal level. And it's because of Yasue, Tonoyasu, whatever his actual name is. I think it's Yasue is his actual name. But seeing him be executed, hearing about what the Smile Devil Fruits does, has really angered Zorro. It's messed him up. He wants to fight. It's interesting that Hiyori says, I want to kill Orochi. And, Zorro kind of looks at her interestingly. So I want to know what happens there. I want to know what's going on there. I'm sure we'll find out in the near future here. But I think it's cool that Zorro is so focused on this goal, because I think it's more rare that it's not just about following Luffy. It's not just about protecting his friends. This is personal. He really was angered by Yasue's death, by hearing about the Smile Fruits. So I think that we're going to get more with Zorro and Wano, and we all kind of figured that Wano is going to be where Zorro really shines. But I think that this is setting up for Act 3 of Wano, possibly, to have Zorro really come back, especially if he gets Shisui back. And the other thing about Zorro is, I think that we can definitely confirm that Zorro's swordsmanship teacher back on his home island is definitely from Wano. The reason I say that is because in the flashback that Shuten Maru has, they say, let's say the word together, and they say that snatch word. And it's a different word, and it means something else. It means something more motivational than just snatch. But if you remember, we saw Momonosuke yell that, and he said that he learned it from Zorro. And so, I'm going to say that means Zorro's teacher is from Wano. A lot of people guess that. I won't say we all, but a lot of people guessed that Zorro's teacher was from Wano. I think it's all but confirmed now that he was, especially with this saying of like Sunach or whatever it is, however you actually say that. I think it's all but confirmed. But that was really cool. All that was really cool to learn about Zorro this week. The last thing that's got to be discussed in this chapter is the very last page. I go back and forth on whether Law is really cool or, just an okay character, I go back and forth. There are times where I'm like, Law is really cool. This is one of those times. It was awesome to see him locked in those chains with that smile. He's beaten up, and he's got no choice. I mean, if you remember from the last time we saw him, Hawkins has Law's crew as the little voodoo dolls for his devil fruit power. And so if he attacks Hawkins, it's just Law's crew that's going to get attacked. So my guess is he surrendered and is just taking their punishment and not giving up the information. I think it's awesome that Law is the one who's gonna get tortured for this info. I don't think Law is gonna give it up, and it was really awesome to see him sit there with that smirk on his face, all bloodied up. I think Law is really cool, and I'm sure that we're gonna see more cool things from him in the coming chapters, in the final battle. Like I said, he's one of the three that I picture going up against Kaido. Him, Luffy, and Kid, I think will be going up against Kaido at the end of this arc. And so, I think he's going to get out of this, but it was really awesome to see him kind of stand his ground and not give up the information for sure. Well, that's all for this review, guys. Thanks for watching. If you have any comments, please leave them down in the comment section below. I want to interact with you guys. I'd love to be able to do that. I'd love to be able to discuss this chapter with you. If you agree with anything I have to say or disagree, like I said, comment section below. But if you liked anything I had to say, please like this video and subscribe to my channel. I bring you manga reviews every single week, along with my weekly rankings as well. And